This conference will now be recorded.
This meeting is now called to order. I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. For roll call, everyone is in attendance, and we will now take a moment of reflection and respect, please. Thank you. Confirmation of agenda.
That council adopts the agenda for the meeting of April 20th, 2022.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Barber and Councillor Charlton. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried, thank you. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. There are no delegations or public meetings this evening, so we'll move into adoption of council and committee minutes.
That council approves the following minutes. Regular virtual meeting of council held on April the 6th, 2022.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Ham and Deputy Mayor Andrews, are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Now we'll move to the consent agenda, items 7.1 to 7.5.
That items 7.1 to 7.5 of the April 20th, 2022 consent agenda be received for information with actions to be taken as noted.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Oslach and Councillor Charlton. And are there any concerns with consent agenda? Anything you'd like to discuss? Councillor Barber, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Regarding 7.2, request for a motion on Bill 124. With council's support, I would like to express concerns about Bill 124.
Okay, that sounds good, Councillor Barber. I was just going to ask you, Josh, should we just go through and see if there are other concerns, or do you want to do one by one so that we can address each issue, or should we do it as one resolution?
Certainly, through your worship, just to clarify, Councillor Barber, you're looking to support this resolution, and staff would follow up sort of on the circulation list listed in that resolution?
Affirmative.
Certainly, so through you, Mayor French, we've got several options. Councillor Barber, with the permission of the mover and seconder, could certainly proceed, or we could handle the items one by one. The mover on this was Councillor Oslach, and the seconder was Councillor Charlton.
Okay, so is that okay with the mover and seconder if we just approach each one as Josh has suggested? And is that okay with you, Councillor Barber?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are there any other concerns or questions with the consent agenda? Councillor Charlton, go ahead.
7.4, I see our investments go up and down like everybody's. I assume the town's in good shape, but maybe the treasurer could just expand on that a little bit.
Okay, go ahead, Heather. How are you this evening?
Good, thank you, Your Worship, and to Councillor Charlton. I just had a meeting with our One Investment, Andy and myself, and we were noting with them, we weren't seeing the returns that we thought we would see with this original investment that you guys had entered in 2015. So we are looking at different investment strategy in the summer timeframe. We have to look at basically the capital commitments that we have in the next 3 years and the cash going in and out in order to change the investment strategy at this point. But there are different options that we're looking at so that we can be more competitive, because currently we're getting more interest overall on our bank accounts than we are on the one investment. And I understand when you guys entered this one investment, there's very strict guidelines for the municipalities to enter in these arrangements. Those actually changed and were a little bit less stringent, I guess, in 2018. But you guys weren't losing any money at that point, so we didn't, it wasn't looked at that point. So now that the interest rates are going up and these government bonds aren't showing the returns that you guys had hoped when you entered these contracts, we're looking at changing the investment strategy, but that will be something we'll do in Q2.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Councillor Chapman, did you have your hand up? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Item 7.5, I just have a comment. It's sad to see that this is being pushed through so quickly without a lot of consultation with municipalities. And that's just a comment that it'd be nice if we could have had more notice and more say in this matter. So that's all.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Chapman. Are there any further comments or questions about the consent agenda? Okay, seeing no other issues. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We'll move into action items. And Josh, before we move to action items, was there anything further I needed to get from council concerning the consent agenda, or is everything good with that?
No, through you, Your Worship, we're all set. Just with the friendly amendment to the main motion, we'll proceed with that follow-up correspondence as requested by Councillor Barber. Okay,
thank you. I just wanted to double check that. Thanks very much, Josh. So the first item up for action items is Report Finance 0622.
That Report Finance 0622 entitled Quarterly Financial Summary, Report Quarter 1, be received for information.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Chapman and Councillor Ham. Are there any questions or comments? And I guess I should turn it over to Heather. Maybe she could give us a bit more information before we go into the questions. So go ahead, Heather.
Thank you, Your Worship. To members of council, I just wanted to note I didn't have anything substantive, but we are on track for providing the quarterly financial statements, as you see in the attached for Q2 and Q3 in a timely fashion. So these reports are fairly black and white, but I did want to note that our team has really improved their processes for posting, cutting off cash receipts month end, AP, and reconciling so that we could present these reports in a timely fashion.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Are there any questions, concerns from council? I'd just like to make a comment, Heather. Thank you so much for this. It's very helpful and it keeps us, up to date exactly where we sit with our budget. So I do appreciate staff's effort on this, and it's excellent. If there are no further comments or questions, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. The next report is CAO 27-22.
That report CAO 27-22 respecting the Family Central update be received by council for information and consideration.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Barber and Councillor Charlton. And I'll turn this over to you, Andy, please.
Thank you, Mayor French. Just very briefly, certainly the town of Aylmer really appreciates the work done by Family Central. The issue of affordable housing and homelessness has been a top priority kind of for the last year for us, at least, even prior to that. A lot of the work that we've done has put us at the forefront of municipalities in Elgin County, but also in Ontario. The incentives that we provide for, development charge refunds and incremental tax breaks are the highest. Our whole area of Elmer is dedicated as an area in our community improvement program for affordable housing. So we do have all the policies in place to assist with it. The one challenge that we've had with certainly with Family Central is the lack of availability of land. So even if the municipality did want to go to the extraordinary lengths of buying and donating land to Family Central for a new development, the real estate market is just so competitive that there hasn't been really any real opportunities. There is an option for council to give a grant to Family Central if you wanted to, but it would be outside of the town policy, which requires that we have the grants done in October. So it's not something that staff ourselves can recommend, but we did previously provide a grant of $3,500. And if council did wish to present a motion of that, the only thing that staff would suggest would be that we require them to fill out the grant application because that's what we've required other people to do. And with that, I'll try to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Are there any questions from council? Councillor Barber, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I would support that process, the approving of a grant of $3,500 on the condition that the application be filled properly.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Barber. Councillor Oslach, go ahead.
I agree with Councillor Barber that I would support that initiative also.
Okay. Are there any further comments or questions from council concerning this? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? And that's carried. Josh, do we need to be more specific? I know the recommendation doesn't specifically say 3,500, but
Through your worship, we can do it through consensus again. So the mover was Councillor Barber, who also offered the friendly amendment to that motion. Councillor Charlton was the seconder. We could confirm with him, but I'm quite certain that we're all right.
okay, I just wanted to make sure. We want to make sure they get the $3,500, so that's good. Okay, thank you. The next report is CAO 2822.
That report, CAO 2822, entitled Establishment of Unopened Road Allowance Industrial Park, be received for information, and that council directs staff to present a bylaw to deem Part 1 of Reference Plan 11R 3506 being part of Lot 82 Concession North Talbot Road, formerly Township of Malahide, as unopened road allowance.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Deputy Mayor Andrews and Councillor Oslach, and I'll turn this back over to you, Andy, please.
Thank you, Mayor French. So at a high level, this report seeks to establish a road allowance. When we look at the reference plan, it's clear that when the town bought this portion of land, it was our intent to make this a road allowance. And in the preliminary engineering that we're doing on the industrial park, it does appear likely that this is going to be the preferred location for a road entryway into that park. We already have kind of the stub on White Street up above, but this will be lower. And this will fit well with the potential location as well for our water tower that we're currently investigating. So that's kind of at a high level. Further to this, there will be further design that goes into this and will be presented to council later this year, so that you will have kind of a better idea of the overall design. With this process, we aren't going to go through the plan of subdivision, but we're going through an environmental and EA process for this park because it's already correctly zoned. So that should really expedite our ability to start looking at selling off portions of this land before the end of this term of council. And with that, I'll try to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Andy. Are there any questions from council for Andy? Councillor Charlton, go ahead.
Through you, Your Worship. So this is north of Beach Street on Elm and south of White Street. And you're going to go to the west. I'm just not, it doesn't matter, but I just wasn't sure where it's gonna go between, that's all. Like there's a co-op there, or the elevator.
Yes, so good question. It's just past the in between the buildings. There's a laneway there, so there isn't any buildings there right now or anything like that. I think they might have some from the aerial pictures. It looks like they might have put some gravel or sand piled there that they'll have to move, but they've essentially been using a portion of land owned by the town for some time, but there isn't any structures that would need to be moved.
Okay, and the newer water tower you're considering putting out that way? Will it be in the new industrial land, or will it be where the town is currently?
Yeah, certainly. So we will bring forward a further report to council. Obviously, the final location of the water tower will be council's decision, but a lot of the geotechnical work that we're doing right now is in the industrial park in that area. So very close to where this roadway would be.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried, thank you. The next report is Clerk 12-22.
That report, Clerk 12-22, respecting the compressed workweek trial extension option be received as information, and that council endorses the extension of the compressed workweek trial period until April the 30th, 2023.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Deputy Mayor Andrews and Councillor Charlton. And I'll turn this over to you, Josh, for an overview.
Certainly, through your worship and two members of council, this was a joint report between Andy, Ruth, and Heather and I, and we just wanted to provide council with an update on the progress of this arrangement to date. And so in August of 2021, council will recall that the compressed workweek trial period was endorsed until July of 2022. At that time, council also authorized the extension of town hall administration hours from 8:30 to it was previously 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. and we're now open from 8 until 5 p.m. and this was effective September 13th, 2022. So since council has endorsed that trial, we've noticed that additional municipalities have followed similar initiatives, including the Township of Southwold and Township of Southwest Oxford. We've also noticed that certain municipalities have permanently endorsed the model, with most recently being the Township of Zora. So while staff have noticed benefits from the compressed workweek model and feel that some of the previously mentioned program weaknesses have been mitigated appropriately, a lot of this evidence that we're relying on doesn't properly account for some of the environmental conditions that the trial occurred under. So namely COVID-19 and those related disruptions have caused the closure of the front office at Town Hall, and that's impacted overall program and service delivery. So in addition, provincial guidance requiring staff to work remotely where possible has also contributed to an atypical workplace throughout this trial. And in short, these factors have really limited staff's ability to collect accurate and reliable data on service interactions during extended office hours. So for example, initially when we spoke about the compressed workweek plan, we were hoping to have reliable data on how many folks called and arrived at Town Hall between 8 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. and 5 p.m. But with the office having been opened and closed so many times throughout the compressed workweek period, it's difficult. It's not been possible to get good data on that front. So as a result, staff are recommending that council consider extending the compressed workweek trial until April the 30th of 2023. So with town operations being largely back to normal as of March 7th, 2022, I'm knocking on wood, this trial extension will allow for more accurate program review in the coming year. And additionally, we're hopeful that as more municipalities continue to adopt a compressed workweek arrangement, it's possible that there'll be even more program improvements and sort of more innovative approaches to that model that the town can also work to emulate. Within this report, we did provide some program feedback and observations to date. Again, I don't want to rely on them too heavily, being that we sort of are still operating or had operated in exceptional circumstances. But most of the positive feedback that we received was with regard to the extended office hours. And specifically, I noticed it on the sort of building and development portfolios. A lot of job sites appreciated that we were able to visit them earlier on. They're able to come to town hall to conduct business later on in the day. We've also heard positive feedback from other municipalities about the way that the policy is written, namely the town's approach to revert to a 5-day compressed work week, or sorry, a 5-day work week on weeks with statutory holidays has been something that we've noticed many municipalities have emulated. This was one tweak that council had authorized to this program that really wasn't based off of another model. We just saw it as being more fair to only credit staff 7 hours for a statutory holiday rather than all of a sudden crediting them 8.75 hours. We find this to be more fair. And finally, the compressed work week model was a part of the most recently approved Elmer Public Works Association working agreement. And we're excited to see how it works in that space. Internally, cross-training for coverage purposes worked out well, and internal communications obstacles have been overcome. That said, staff are currently in the process of developing a more comprehensive scheduling communications tool to ensure that council is aware of management staff's work schedules and also vacation periods. So staff are monitoring the 6th wave of COVID-19. Again, we're hopeful that this isn't going to disrupt any of this moving forward. But at this point, the intent is to gradually bring back all staff into the office prior to June. And I'm not sure if Andy or any of the other staff have more to add, but I'm sure that they'll assist with any questions as well.
Thank you, Josh. Are there any questions from council concerning this report? Councillor Oslach, go ahead.
Yes, I was opposed to that at last year. I was opposed to this, and I think it's working out greatly. I apologize for my ignorance at that time.
Thank you, Councillor Oslach. Are there any other comments? Councillor Barber, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Excuse me. I too was cautiously optimistic at the beginning. I think the extension for the time that was specified is appropriate and is reasonable to get a better feel of what's going on.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Councillor Barber. Deputy Mayor Andrews, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a comment. A lot of municipalities and just a lot of workplaces in general are taking this approach. And I think that it speaks volumes that, building and development related business has commented how this has affected them in such a positive light. And considering how well our development has been, I have to agree that it's worked all the way around. So I hope that beyond the term of this council, the next council also decides to extend this. I think if we want to retain staff and we want to offer a competitive edge, this is a way that we can do it. So it's great to hear that it worked out.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Andrews. Are there any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Is there any new business or matters of urgency? Okay, I don't see any. Reading of bylaws for the third reading, Josh?
That council approves and gives 3 readings to bylaw 2215, being a bylaw to increase the rate to pay municipal employees and officials for travel mileage incurred while in the service of or representing the town of Elmer.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Deputy Mayor Andrews and Councillor Charlton. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Are there any inquiries by members? Councillor Oslach, go ahead.
Yes, Your Worship. To Josh, how's the new council chambers coming?
Through your worship and to Councillor Oslich, it's coming along well. I am excited. I'll have a more updated report for council at the next meeting with some photos and whatnot. But at this point, we do have all of the drywall is hung and the primer is on the walls. We're working with Elmer Flooring right now to come in and finish that part of the project. But we really are sort of finalizing the finish items right now. There have been some obstacles in terms of supply shortages and price increases, mostly as a result of sort of supply chain issues. But I don't think anything too unexpected, especially given that it was a demolition and a rebuild project. So I'm optimistically cautious right now in saying that we're ahead of schedule, but I can certainly assure council that we're very much on schedule and will be able to utilize the new council chamber space at least during the summer meeting period. And there is the potential that we'd be able to utilize it in advance of that.
Further comment, I see you blocked up our escape door in the back with the jail used to be.
Yes, through you, Mayor French and to Councillor Oslich, that was a part of the plan. There still is sufficient exit doors for fire code and other building code considerations. It was just that there was one door that did get blocked, and it will be refinished sort of with an appropriate exterior to complement the rest of the surrounding area.
Further comment, how has Ben coming with the new television studio?
So staff have been working with Eastlink to ensure that that service is able to carry over into the new facility. We've been in communications with them sort of from the outset of the project. The town is going to be working with a third-party vendor to install some of the hybrid meeting and other IT elements in the council chambers. So again, Eastlink very much has a seat at that table throughout the discussion. And, we're able to reuse the existing equipment, which is great. And yeah, I guess to answer your question, it's been going along well.
Thank you, Josh.
Councillor Barber, did you have your hand up before?
Yes, I did, Your Worship. One question to Rob, if I may, and that regards the survey of the stoplights at Talbot and John. Could we have an update on the status of that report, please?
Certainly, we have a consultant who did one review of the intersection. He's doing a second one later in the summer period where it's a little busier. The first one we waited until after many of the restrictions with the pandemic were lifted, when traffic was a little probably closer to normal. And we've received the accident information, relevant accident information from the police, and have forwarded that to the consultant as well. I would suggest probably it's going to be realistically September. I really want him to capture on site, have a look at the intersection, how it functions during those busy months and those peak periods.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any further inquiries? Go ahead, Councillor Charlton.
Through you, Your Worship, to Rob, I've been talking to a few people that live on Clarence Street. They're really happy with Clarence Street, and it is scheduled to be have the second coating of paving done this coming summer. Is that correct?
That is correct. I hope to have a report before council at the next meeting recommending an award of the top lift paving.
Okay, and further to that, I've had numerous complaints about spilt coffee on Elk Street. So there is, I keep telling people to put a lid on it, but things are coming along with Elk Street, but it will be next year when that's developed. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any further inquiries? Okay, seeing no further inquiries, we'll move into statements and committee reports. Councillor Barber, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. To Rob, very quickly, the crosswalk at South and John seems to be repaired since the last council meeting. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Counselor Oslach, go ahead.
Yes, your worship. I had went to the St. Thomas Recycling Center on Edgewater, and I took some electronic stuff there yesterday, and I found out that you can take styrofoam there now. And I was talking to the gentleman, and they ship it to Hamilton, and they compress it into blocks, and they sell it to industrial for industrial purposes for insulation. So now you can everything is I buy comes packaged in the styrofoam, and now you can recycle it.
Well, that's good to know. Thanks for the update, Counselor Oslach.
And further, on Friday at 10:30, we're planning a American Second War in Optimus Park, and it's I hope everybody will be there because it's Earth Day.
That's right. Thank you. Are there any further statements or committee reports? Seeing none, there is no report of the mayor. Notice of motion, I don't believe there's any this evening. So we'll be looking for the resolution to go into the meeting close to the public.
That council moves into a meeting closed to the public at 7:30 p.m. to discuss the following matters. Director of Corporate and Legislative Services report Clerk 1822 respecting a litigation update, and Chief Administrative Officer report CAO 2922 regarding an employee-related matter. And with consideration of these items being closed to the public pursuant to Section 239(2)D and E of the Municipal Act as amended, as the subject matter pertains to labor relations or employee negotiations, that's item 15.2, and litigation or potential litigation, that's item 15.1. That's everything.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Charlton and Councillor Ham. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.